two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do it
To be able to help him.
because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Tuesday night on SportsGrid, it is game time decisions, and we have so much happening to cover throughout these 2 hours together. I'm Kevin Walsh with you here on this Tuesday night. We have ranked college action going on right now with Texas A&M and Oregon. We'll see the Kentucky Wildcats in just a little bit. Hosting Western Kentucky as now a 24.5-point favorite. We've seen upsets already throughout today. San Diego State rocks Creighton. The Blue Jays with their second straight loss against an unranked opponent, the first coming to Nebraska earlier in the week. We have UConn going down for the second straight time. They lose 73-72. This one to Colorado. Yikes. My, oh my. Danny Hurley. What's going on? Maybe Alex Caravan and Liam McNeely, isn't the duo that LeBron and AD are. It's all good. Lakers ended up with the better coach out of that situation. In reality, for UConn, they ended up now losing 2 straight games by a combined 3 points. I believe they have one more game out in Maui. I will be interested, though it is likely to be a very large number. The College Board tonight, though, is just getting underway. My goodness, the 4 games involving ranked teams. Are you kidding me? In Maui, Dayton and Iowa State. Both teams cannot believe that they are playing one another in the losers bracket. Both teams were up massively yesterday in their matchups. Dayton against North Carolina, led by 18 at the break. They lose by 2. Iowa State up 16 at the break on Auburn. They also lose by 2. I'm in the mix with that game. Give me the Dayton Flyers, catching 9.5 at -120 juice. I think that Dayton last night showed that they can hang at this level. I'm not fully sold that Iowa State is better than North Carolina. That's a battle-tested Tar Heels team who's been in Maui, mind you, because they got there early to play Hawaii, and maybe that helped them a little bit in that comeback. I also think the loss, a little bit more deflating for Iowa State at the gun against Auburn. That would have been, with Auburn's win already against Houston, Cyclones would have really set the tempo there. I'll take the near double digits on the Flyers. That's one game that we have. The late game in Maui in the winner's bracket is Auburn and North Carolina. What a delightful one. A number, though, that has been moving throughout the day. At points, we've seen this as high as -5 for the Tigers. It is settling now at -3.5. I'm going to try and take a slight get-in, get-out special on a first-half under at 79.5. Both teams' offenses were off to a very slow start in those games yesterday. It's what put them behind the 8 ball, but their defenses were also unacceptable. North Carolina allowed 50, Auburn 49. I think there will be a lot more focus on that end. This is a big game. Whichever one of these teams advances will be the favorite to win the Maui Invitational. I think you'll see that play out early here. We go under the 79.5. We have out at the Players Era Festival in Vegas, number 6 Houston against number 9 Alabama. Yes, please. By the way, shout out Nate Oates. Dude knows how to schedule out a conference. He's got another great one here. We've seen him against Purdue. We've seen him against Illinois. And in those games, we've seen a ton of points. The Illinois game is a rocket ship over. Against Purdue, not so much, but still significantly more points than tonight's asking price at 149.5. This total is 15 points lower than the next closest Alabama total on the season. For Houston, the comp point, of course, would be the Auburn game, where there is 8 points of separation. I think Bama is 8 points more towards an over, if you will, than Auburn is. The Crimson Tide comfortably worse defensively, comfortably faster. I'm playing the over in Alabama and Houston. And then arguably the best game on the board. Also out in Vegas, T-Mobile Arena. The number 1 team in college basketball against arguably the best team in college basketball. The 5-0 number 1 Jayhawks. The favored, though, Duke Blue Devils at 3.5. A Duke team that I picked to win the national championship. A Duke team that has found themselves with the number 1 defensive rating on KenPom. For a young team who has already played Kentucky and Arizona, that is wildly impressive. They go into this game against Kansas, and Kansas is probably the 3rd best offense they will see so far this season. Duke battle-tested. Jayhawks as well, though. They brought North Carolina into their building, a Michigan State team who's looking well and performing out in Maui. A Spartans group there that Jayhawks battled at the Champions Classic, so that all good and impressive. I lean towards the over actually in the game. I'd like to see Duke get the win, of course, with my future. I want to see the Blue Devils now back it up one more time in a spot like this. But I like Hunter Dickinson over 10.5 rebounds, 11 plus, wherever you can get the best juice. Hunter Dickinson, one of the best rebounders in college basketball, is in for a big workload tonight. This season, he has played 30-plus minutes twice. 15 rebounds, 12 rebounds. He did play 29 against North Carolina and had 10 boards. The issue in that game was 4 fouls. This is simply a bet on Dickinson staying out of foul trouble. If he does that, he gets 35-plus minutes, and he gets 12-plus rebounds in an awesome, awesome game out in Vegas. Again, this is the college basketball slate. Not only so far this season, you may not see a better college basketball slate until the Sweet 16. Quite frankly, awesome, awesome stuff. With the NBA tonight, we have cup action. Absolutely phenomenal. We play 5 games. I have 4 picks to reset the top of the bracket. You do have the Celtics reclaiming their status as favorites. Victories over the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Washington Wizards have slotted them up top. The Knicks and the Warriors are in the mix there as well. One of the, or I would say the most important game tonight, though, is between the Suns and the Lakers. Not only important for the Cup, but to look at the Phoenix Suns getting their guys back. Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal return, and it's what slotted Phoenix as 2.5-point favorites in this game. I am playing under 235. This total shoots up due to the returns of KD and Beal. That ignores, we've already seen these teams play multiple times, mind you, multiple times. And in those games, the totals were listed under 230. I think we're getting a chance to sell high on that number. San Antonio and Utah within the same group is another under for me, with Victor Wembanyama in the mix at 225. A big one between Minnesota and Houston, where I need a Rockets win as I play the future on them to win that group. Chicago and Washington, let's get a little Zach LaVine, 8.5 rebounds plus assists, and then let's pump it up over style in South Beach. Heat Bucks will be back with you here on SportsGrid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're with you here on Game Time Decisions. Just to reset it for you before we bring on Coach James Young, I'm right now sitting on 4 picks in the NBA, 4 picks on the college board. NBA, Zach LaVine over 8.5 rebounds plus assists. At minus 140 is expensive. I think it's worth it, though. If I'm playing it, of course, it's a minus 140 number, and it has been key. 9 boards has been a number, or 9 RA has been a key number for LaVine this season. Bounce back spot activated. Give me over Heat Bucks, 222.5. Though I will tell you now, Giannis, questionable. If he misses that game, I probably caught a bad number, and would stay away if I were you. I'll root it in for myself. It's already in, but I would be cautious. Under Jazz Spurs with Wemby coming back, I do not think it's adjusted enough at 225. Under Suns Lakers at 235. Too much of an adjustment there with the return of Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. College basketball over Alabama Houston 149.5. Over 10.5 boards for Hunter Dickinson, catching 9.5 with the Dayton Flyers, and then a first half under in North Carolina Auburn, sitting at 79.5. We now bring him in, Coach James Young. JY, what a basketball slate here on a Tuesday.
What a slate. I mean, what a slate when you have that game in Vegas, Mario Invitational. Really quick, because I got a text message from some officials I know. Folks, Danny Hurley's antics have officially gotten old. It's done. He got the tee last night. He's acting like a wild man. We saw this 2 years ago, Kevin, if you remember. There's a little bit of stretch where UConn didn't play well, and I watched games, and he was really riding his officials. Anybody as a coach knows you got to pick spots with officials. Dan Hurley is out of control, and Kevin, he cost his team possibly 2 games with his antics. He's got to get himself under control. He's really not helping his team right now.
Yeah, I'll just say this. To me, preseason, North Carolina, not as good as the prior 2 seasons whatsoever. And I wonder if Hurley is struggling with that. Now, listen, 2 losses by a combined 3 points, but make no mistake about it. Memphis and Colorado are teams they were laying 8.5 and 15.5 to. They didn't go out there and lose to Auburn, North Carolina, Iowa State. These are the kind of games that Hurley and the Huskies have been dominating for the past 2 seasons. So it definitely sends some questions, and you have to wonder if Hurley is, let's call it what it is, acting out a little bit because he's facing the reality that he's not going to three-peat this year. And I think that that's a fair question. Since we're on the thought of college, JY, let's go there. Talk to me. What a college board. Where does your card start tonight?
Well, let's go where you're going with Hunter Dickinson. I'm going to go with Kansas plus the points. Listen, I look at this team, and look, at the end of the day, if they can shoot the ball a little bit better, particularly Mayo, who had a good game against North Carolina, but it's been up and down. I like this team plus the points, Kevin. Their experience, I think Duke's going to have problems with that, with definitely dealing with Hunter Dickinson. You went over his rebounding. I think I'm going to take Kansas plus the points. Kevin, I wouldn't be surprised with the experience and the depth if they win that game outright.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, JY, because I don't think the line is wrong, but I'm incredibly high on this Duke basketball team. We'll see. This is a chance to make a huge statement, though they already made one in Arizona. I'll tell you this right now. The Wildcats will not be held under 60 in that building the rest of this season. One of the best defensive performances, the fact that it happened so early, that's the story with Cooper Flagg. He's the best defensive prospect since Anthony Davis, and it's saying a lot. JY, Alabama-Houston's a big one. How do you play that game?
We're on completely opposite sides of the spectrum. You're going over the game. I'm going Alabama team total under 73.5. Now, when you look at it closely, and Alabama's as good as they are offensively, particularly, in fact, we've talked about, you and I before, about Cliff O'More going in there and sliding Nelson to the 4, which I think is a natural thing. If you look at the game that Houston lost, 74-69 to Auburn, they fumbled it down the stretch, had foul game, lost 74-69. Auburn may be as good as any team the way that they just hung up 83 coming back against Iowa State. I'm looking at team total under here for Alabama. 3 out of the 4 games, Houston has led teams under 50 points. And now I know this is a way better team, but I look at the way how Kelvin Sampson's going to play this game. He's got to slow it down, make it a half-court game. I'm not saying Alabama can steal it. I think this is going to be, ready, Kev? A rock fight. Give me under 73.5 for Alabama tonight.
Listen, I'll be honest with you, JY. My initial thought when I saw the game was the exact bet you placed. I can't get to that number. I can't. But the reason I played the full game over is, let's see if this Houston offense is as good as the advanced numbers suggest. Because that Bama defense can be tested. And Houston should be able to get into the 80s in this game. And if they do that, I think I'll still be able to get my full game 149.5. You're trusting the Jersey kids tonight and a little bit of a bounce back spot?
Def Texas and Rutgers basketball. I think that's what Jimmy Valvano said. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, Coach. But I'm back in Rutgers here. Listen, they have not covered the last 4 games against the spread. They've been a mess a little bit figuring out Ace Bailey. By the way, as good as Cooper Flagg has been, Kevin, we got to talk one day about can Ace Bailey be that 1A? Because he's been scary good. Going against a Notre Dame team, I know Rutgers lost last night, but I just don't think that team in Notre Dame should be able to compete with Rutgers. Rutgers bounce back spot. Give me Rutgers on the money line tonight.
I will say this: we are early in the process. I will be absolutely stunned if there is a single moment where I think that anyone other than Cooper Flagg should be picked first overall. I will be, and again, I'll put it to you like this, JY. I think it's more likely that Dylan Harper is the prospect I prefer on Rutgers to Ace Bailey than preferring Ace Bailey to Cooper Flagg.
Oh, that's spicy. Because I think at the end of the day, the explosiveness, I look at Ace Bailey and I see a little bit of like a young, not height-wise, he's not as big, he's only about 6'8", a young Kevin Durant. The stuff he can do, one dribble pull-up, I think is outstanding. I think Ace Bailey is going to be a fantastic pro. You may be right, but if he is number 1 Cooper Flagg, number 2 has got to be Ace Bailey.
We'll watch this season play out with the kids. We've got JY for just a little bit longer here. We'll get his picks for a Tuesday NBA Cup slate next. It's Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like and be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're with Coach James Young here on a Tuesday night. The NBA Cup, JY, with a lot of interesting games for people right now wondering the Milwaukee situation. We don't know if Giannis is going to play. If he is out, how much would that shift your action in this one?
Well, if Giannis is, I'm taking him. Right now, according to the 5:30 report, he is probable. That's according to the NBA. But you know, Kevin, anything could change over the last hour. If, very simply put, one of my plays was the Bucks plus the points. Kevin, if he plays, I'm in on the Bucks. If they don't, kind of like you, it's a complete stay away. I mean, I think you already put your pen in, but it would be a stay away game for me. They're looking better. He looks engaged. Bucks plus the points only if Giannis is in the lineup tonight.
All right, so we'll wait and see on that information. Perhaps the questions around Giannis factored in. That number's up to 4 right now, so I think you can tell the books trying to figure out that situation. JY, another spread you're going to play tonight is in the Minnesota-Houston game. What angle are you taking?
As much as I've loved what Houston has done, right, Kevin? 7 of the last 10 games. Minnesota goes on that road trip east. They lose a tight game to Boston. We know about the situation with Randall and Rudy in Toronto. But if you look at the Rockets, Kevin, at 7 out of 10, they didn't really play top-notch opponents. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the Timberwolves minus the points back home, big spot. I think they get the job done. Give me the Timberwolves minus 3.5 at home.
All right, now, JY, I don't want to hold you up too much because I know sometimes you got to boogie out of here. Fly through that rest of the Tuesday slate for me here with the NBA Cup starting up again in about a half hour's time.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Spurs on the money line at Utah. Simply put, the Spurs team has been up and down. I think the line was at 1.2.5, so I think if it's still there, I would still go on the money line. Minus 136 Spurs on the money line. Next, Harrison Barnes to make 2+ made threes. The Jazz give up a ton of threes. So I think this is something you can catch at plus money and make some money. Lastly, Malcolm Brogdon. Shout out to our guy Sammy Yarnell, the biggest and probably the only Wizards fan I know. I'm going Malcolm Brogdon over 1.5 made threes. It was way more plus money, Kevin, about 1 plus 140, but then Jordan Poole got ruled out. More minutes for Malcolm Brogdon. I know he's got out there all 4 games. Give me Malcolm Brogdon over 1.5 made threes at plus 110.
All right, little juice there on Brogdon, who, you know, I've heard a lot of connections to the Lakers and JV. I wonder if they can tie Malcolm Brogdon in. Coach, we appreciate your time here on a Tuesday. Best of luck with the slate.
By the way, you in all black? Damn, you looking sharp tonight, brother. I'll see you next time.
All right, there goes Coach James Young helping us out. You know, and I know I just alluded to it there with the LA Lakers, and it's one of the more interesting things that's kind of been going on for a little bit now. Shams Charania of now ESPN, like once a week, like Lakers are looking for a big man. Lakers are looking for a big man. And there's a lot of different, you know, we hear Robert Williams of Portland. Jonas Valanciunas is the main one, I feel, in Washington. There's been some Walker Kessler, Utah that gets tossed around. It's just odd because, you know, the Lakers have only played 16 games this season. I'm not saying the need isn't there, but it feels like a deadline thing. Perhaps due to the fact that the Lakers wanted to be aggressive in the offseason, weren't able to get a deal done. They're ready to deal much sooner in the process. But how willing is anybody else in the NBA to deal with this team before we get to, or much closer to the, I mean, we haven't even played our Christmas slate yet within the NBA. So it's just one of those interesting things that we are hearing. I'm interested to see tonight, you know, just within this group here is somebody who played Oklahoma City to win, not just, I didn't play him even to win the group, I played him to win the entire thing. Interested to see what a Phoenix victory would do to all these numbers and how that could shift things within the cup right now. OKC sitting even due to a terrible, terrible loss to the San Antonio Spurs in a game they did not even have Victor Wembanyama. OKC does already hold a victory over the Phoenix Suns, so Phoenix or OKC's rooting interest tonight is certainly, I would at least imagine, with Phoenix, but the Suns or the Thunder still have a head-to-head with the LA Lakers a little bit later on in the group play there, which will certainly make the difference. So we'll watch that all play out. We're going to continue to break it all down here on SportsGrid. A busy, busy night of basketball. It's game time decisions. We'll be right back. Quick break.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Live to right here, it is Game Time Decisions on a Tuesday night. We're now joined by Colby Dant to talk all things college here. Little football. We'll start with some basketball. Colby, appreciate you making some time here on a Tuesday.
I appreciate you having me. I'm just, you wake up, there's basketball on. You go to sleep, there's basketball on. This is fantastic.
Yeah, and again, it's over at the Colby D on Twitter there if you want to keep up with everything Colby's got going on. Let me start with this. Since you mentioned it is Feast Week and it draws eyes to the college basketball board, we get these full-day slates here. For someone like yourself, how much will you shift perception based on these games? We just saw a UConn Huskies team that has been viewed as a top-5 team by, the consensus, if you will, drop 2 straight games to – not your Auburns or Iowa States, but to Memphis and Colorado.
Absolutely shocking, first off. The Memphis one I was actually on. This one I was not. Memphis, I thought, okay, UConn's reloading. Memphis has just unbelievable athleticism like they've always had with Penny Hardaway. They just haven't been able to put it together in March. But I am shocked pretty much at this one, specifically because I think if you're just a lay college basketball fan, you say, well, Colorado went to the field of 32 last year. They almost won that game. So this isn't that bad of a loss. But if you really dive into what Colorado, they lost everybody. Eddie Lampkin's at Syracuse. 2 players went to the NBA. A few other players transferred out. One's at Georgia Tech. One's at Kentucky, I believe. And all those guys are gone. So coming in, they were projected to be dead last in the Big 12. And Tad Boyle's got them playing way ahead of what everyone, including myself, thought. I'm shocked about that one. They went out to the D2 ranks to bring in one of their best players. So to go up against UConn and win, fascinating. I don't know how much to read into it because, UConn was in an overtime game the night before. Could this be a blemish and UConn just pick it up with the way Danny Hurley's historically been at UConn and even back to his Rhode Island days? I kind of chalk it up to that right now, but obviously I don't think this is as strong as a team as the previous 2 years, and I don't have them winning the national championship. But I wouldn't just hit DEFCON 5 yet on the if you're a UConn Husky fan, just relax. He'll make adjustments. You're also, like I said, you were in an overtime game last night. It is Feast Week. But it is pretty shocking. If anything, I would have laid the points, and if I was forced to wager on that game,
I would have as well too, right? I just think, I know it might have felt a little too obvious, but a bounce back spot, a CU team that didn't look the level against Michigan State. I think the saving grace is it's impossible to imagine UConn misses the tournament, and at that point, okay, you're in the tournament, you take a chance with Dan Hurley, right? In that type of setting, but you are getting some confirmation that this should be a down year for the Huskies. You mentioned, they're not your pick to win the national championship. Did you play any, preseason college hoops futures to win a national championship outright?
I took a sprinkle, and I normally don't, but I normally like to see a little sample size, and then, but I just thought Rick Pitino's getting up there in age, so I did sprinkle St. John's. To win the national championship. Yeah. I just thought he did such a great job in the portal, but hey, that's another one. And in general, the Big East has looked terrible so far this year. And I grew up, loving the Big East, big fan of the Big East. But if you look team by team, Seton Hall's losses, Villanova's losses, Georgetown's one game against Notre Dame where they got destroyed. Pretty much everywhere now that UConn has added a loss, with the exception of Marquette, has had just really bad blemishes. I mean, we saw San Diego State put it on Creighton today too. So, and Nebraska put it on Creighton a few nights ago. So that's been one of the biggest storylines there. But yeah, I took a sprinkle on Pitino. We'll see what he does. Obviously you can't be losing to the Georgia Bulldogs in basketball, right? So that's the only one I did, just because I thought he's, how much shelf life does he have at his age?
Yeah. And they've got a good team there in Queens. For me, and I kind of hated doing this because I'd much rather, especially in college basketball, take a shot, get a big number, hope the seed line's lined up. I played Duke. I very rarely would do this, but I believe in the depth. I think Cooper Flagg, and you're seeing this, but it's defensively. Like usually we see a prospect like, oh my gosh, they could average 25. What he can be defensively, and they are currently returning the results of the number one defense in college. So I think Again, it's not one of those tickets that I panic about or anything. You just kind of wait and see what happens. But I look at a game like tonight against what is the AP's number one team in Kansas, and I see Duke the favorite. And for me, a little bit, Colby, I go, yeah, that's why I placed that bet, because I think Duke maybe is the best team in college basketball here. But it's a chance to show it tonight against the Jayhawks team, whose wins against both, I think, North Carolina and Michigan State, aging well and kind of showing people that they do have obviously they have a very good roster, but maybe they are worthy of that number one ranking. Are you going to play that game tonight out in Vegas?
Yeah, I already did. I took the Jayhawks, but mainly it's just Duke, and I have no problem with you taking that future on Duke. I think that actually could be, you could be onto something there, because I was very impressed with them in Tucson. They're just a young team to me, though. That was the one thing to me about, I want to catch teams. I took Kentucky money line against them. And I do believe this team is more talented. It's probably the most talented team John Shire's had. Mm-hmm. But there's a youth movement there. Like, especially in November and December, I think is when you want to catch Duke, because I think they're going to be really, with each given week, they're going to be improving. But really, the logic here for me with Kansas, you just said, 2-0. But to me, they didn't look great in both those games. I guess you could say the first half against UNC. Mm-hmm. But, or 2-0 in those big matchups. I should say they're better than 2-0. But I think the experience is the factor here. They went out in the transfer portal and brought in arguably, the top class or one of the top 5 classes. And, bringing back the NIL, bringing back Hunter Dickinson. I thought for right now, the more experience would pay off, especially in a neutral site. And Duke's been out in the desert for a while now because they were in Tucson. So you've been away from home for a while. I just think the Jayhawks experience will prevail today.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see. I just have this feeling that Kansas can get over their team total. Though you mentioned the game against Arizona, and even the game against Kentucky is averaging 104 points per game outside of the Duke game. Holding them to 77 looks like a heck of an accomplishment, what they did to Arizona. So I'm interested to see how Kansas's offense looks in that one. Late night, we get Auburn, North Carolina, where amazingly in the winner's bracket, right? Both teams kind of looked dead to rights within their respective games. What do you feel with the Tigers and the Tar Heels?
Yeah, Auburn has looked great so far this year, despite that little dust up or little fight on the airplane. They ended up winning that game after they went to Houston. No, it wasn't technically at the Cougar Stadium. It was at the Rocket Stadium. I don't know if that's a real huge edge or not, but yeah, I just think Auburn last night was lucky to survive. You could say the same with Carolina, especially with the guy's foot on the line, on that gigantic shot for Dayton. But I do think Carolina's been a little undervalued in the rankings. I also think Auburn, although they're battle tested, if you go back to the Houston game, if you go back to last night's game, they've been in these matchups to the last couple minutes and they've been able to, prevail. I just think that your time is due on that. And the Tar Heels, to me, kind of have a roster that I think can exploit some of the weaknesses of Auburn. So specifically to me, the way they shoot the three ball, at a pretty decent rate, I think could be the deciding factor there for the Tar Heels in tonight's game. So I do side with the Tar Heels, but I'm going to be fascinated to watch these Maui. This year's Maui tournament's fantastic. All these games are fire.
Yeah, they are. That's one thing I really appreciate with college basketball. They haven't. We're going to talk college football in a second. College hoops has the ability to give us these games that college football just does not, because we've kind of seen strength of schedule at times not be rewarded, or it's a difficult thing there. But in college, this kind of stuff's encouraged, and it creates a really fun early season product. Excited to see R.J. Davis follow up an awesome second half in that game. Colby's going to stick around. We'll talk some college football next year on Sports.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, back here on SportsGrid, Kevin Walsh joined by Colby Dant, talking a little college here. Colby, let me just throw it to you. Any one or two other picks with on the college basketball board you want to let the people know about tonight before we talk a little college football?
Certainly. There's a gigantic slate, as you can imagine, but I am on a few. One of them out in I believe is this in Vegas or is this in Santa Barbara? Santa Barbara at the Thunderdome. Eastern Washington is a 1-5 team, but don't look too far into that 1-5. They've been covering a lot of those games. UC Santa Barbara's 4-1, but they've been barely getting by. The Fresno game, they barely got by. San Jose State, they barely got by. I think E-Dub, who still is a pretty good team, can go into the Thunderdome, cover that 10.5. That's one that I'm on there. And actually, I'm on another one out there in Vegas where I think UNC Greensboro laying the 3.5 against San Jose State is another one that I like. This Greensboro team, super athletic and veterans. Tim Miles, I think he's a good coach at San Jose, but they got plucked apart in the transfer portal. They're not there yet, so I like those two right there.
All right, so a few extra looks there on the college basketball board. As Colby says, it is a loaded slate. Want to shift over to college football tonight? We'll get the latest sets of rankings from the CFP committee. And to me, I think the biggest thing to see, Colby, is actually where Alabama sits more than anything else. Preseason, a lot of people worried about an overwhelming SEC bias. But if you look at what is currently the AP poll and use that to fill out a playoff bracket, we would be getting just 3 SEC teams. I think some of the conversation right now is I feel people are using preseason concerns and carrying those out. We're not seeing it that way. What do you make of Alabama's chances? I'm assuming they're kind of the team with the best chance to get in as a 4th SEC team to still make a college football playoff appearance.
Well, from the personal side of me watching the games week in and week out, I think they should be eliminated. But
okay.
I know the sport too well. It's I've covered it my whole life pretty much, and I think they're looking for reasons to put Alabama in. Not only because the SEC needs another team and they have such power within the sport, but also I think they draw a huge TV number, and big business always wins out. It seems like when you get to college football. They still got to beat Auburn, and to me, I actually like them this weekend against Auburn. I like laying the 11.5 or whatever that's currently at. Mm-hmm. But to me, I have major problems with it. I'm curious to see where the committee puts them tonight, and maybe they put them back further than I think tonight or this week. But after the Auburn win, they bump them up some. I'm not sure. It's going to be fascinating to watch, but I do have issues with it because right now, if you're just following the lines, Vanderbilt is projected to go 6-6 if they lose to Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And that would be a bad loss. And Oklahoma is favored to go, or I'm sorry, LSU is favored against Oklahoma. So they're projected to go 6-6 as well. So if you have 2 losses in both those games, so the Vanderbilt game, they never had the lead. In the Oklahoma game, I think they were up 3-0, but then to only score 3 points, I really, and I love Jalen Milroe. I think Kalen DeBoer is a fun and exciting coach. But I just don't believe they deserve to be in, unless some crazy chaos happens the final week.
So if the season ended today, agree that they are not in. I do have an issue with Boise State being in front of them. Boise State's getting put on upset alert against Wyoming. I think that is as damning as losing to Oklahoma, who has a top 20 defense in college football. But I think the interesting thing is, based on what just happened this past weekend, Colby, chaos could certainly be there, right? I don't think Tennessee is a sure thing against Vanderbilt. And I think one of the other key spots that Alabama will be rooting on is the ACC duo of Miami and SMU. Against the odds, I now feel that if the Hurricanes and Mustangs can hold serve and win their 2 games this weekend, Miami against Syracuse, SMU playing California, meeting that ACC championship game, I think we're now looking at a 2-bid conference in the ACC, which is a surprising thing.
Yeah, and I'll push it one further. If Vanderbilt does beat Tennessee and Clemson beats South Carolina, could we actually potentially get 3? I mean, I think that would be crazy if you told me that in the preseason. But I think that South Carolina-Clemson game does hold some major weight this weekend. And Clemson would probably benefit from not playing in the ACC championship. And I think you could make the argument, do you keep Clemson out, a team that has had such great success in the 4-team playoff, winning 2 national championships and, having a lot of wins within that. So I know they haven't looked the part. I know the resume is not great, but I mean, are we really, I understand the illusion they use for the resume, but if you have Texas at number 3 and their best win is Vanderbilt, I feel like Clemson can then get a pass. What do you think the odds are that they could get 3 in? That's what I would love to know.
So I think it's on the board because South Carolina has continuously been able to win, and for Clemson it'd be a good one. And what they'd be able to do is if we had a Clemson-Bama debate, and let's say Clemson can win that game by 7, 10, 14, well, Alabama only beat that team by 2, right? And that would be a really big separator there all of a sudden in that conversation. I think it's interesting because Clemson played Georgia. Yes, it was week 1. They got their heads beat in. Bama was able to beat Georgia, right? So, I think my point, Colby, with Alabama is you take a team like Clemson and maybe Clemson gets in, and if they do, I don't think it would be a disgrace. I think there are people who are already annoyed at the idea of Bama getting in. Bama's had a lot of help. Like Ole Miss lost to Florida, which allowed that to, the fact that Michigan was terrible. LSU had so many bad losses. A&M couldn't handle business against Auburn. It's created this open landscape that we didn't think would be there just a week ago had Bama dropped that game to OU. But I'm excited to watch it play out, certainly. Colby, really appreciate the time tonight. We'll have to do it again soon.
Oh, sounds great, man. Yeah, I can't wait to see what they do here, and appreciate you guys having me on the show, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Yes, you too, man. A happy Thanksgiving there again over on Twitter at @TheColbyD. Make sure you keep up to date everything Colby Dance got going on here. We will button up the rest of the college basketball card and a big NBA injury update next right here on Game Time Decisions.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Back right here, Game Time Decisions, and it looks like a tough one made tonight for the Milwaukee Bucks as they will be without Giannis Antetokounmpo. That is certainly a game changer there, considering just how excellent Giannis has been. He was honestly in a little bit of a bounce-back spot, if you will, because of the inefficiency, and on his own scale, that inefficiency, mind you, is the way I'm judging it, but a little inefficient in his last game despite the 30 points. I thought his 30 and a half lined up a little bit. That game now, as I played it over in, we'll see what happens. Let's see what your updated numbers all are for that game. Goes down to 221.5, so it's not like I got a bad number. I'm just less inclined to get involved without Giannis already in. Spread's up to 6. We'll see if Miami gets it done. All right, we'll see how it plays out. I will keep eyes on Tyler Hero tonight. Tyler Hero's in a nice little bounce-back spot there. A lot of three-point volume from Tyler Hero within the recent games. Double-digit attempts there pretty consistently. So I think you could get a good one out of Tyler Hero tonight. Keep your eyes loaded within that game. The college basketball board right now is going to look – it looks like Oregon is going to hand Texas A&M another loss. Now, listen, Ducks are good. That's a team people are way in on. 5-0, about to go to 6-0. Not a nightmare for A&M. But you're starting to see Texas A&M show maybe, okay, this is not one of the 25 best teams in college basketball, and that's kind of what you're getting there. Kentucky off to a good start offensively against Western Kentucky. I did lean on Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers, plus the points in that game. I didn't play it for my own selfish reasons, if you will. I felt as if I should have been betting this Kentucky Wildcats team every game once the season got underway. And I didn't. I sat and I watched and enjoyed. If you don't know, I'm a fan of the Kentucky Wildcats. And the first time I got involved was a Lipscomb team, total over 68.5, playing against Kentucky. And they landed 68, and it felt like that was maybe the universe giving me a lesson. I should have backed the Cats. I didn't want my second bet involving. I mean, we had some stuff with the Champions Classic, but I didn't want my second bit of action to be once again against Kentucky. I left it be. We'll see how it plays out here tonight, though. They are continuously getting more and more respect, though, from odds makers. They're inside the top 15 now, actually, within KenPom. Just to reset everything, though, within the college basketball board tonight, because we do have so many marquee games, and we went over them a little bit with Colby there. Alabama, Houston, he mentioned to me he's looking towards Houston. We had Coach come on, and he's back in Bama team total under, which goes a little bit against what I played, but not fully. To me, I think that Houston could very well light the scoreboard up in this game based on what everybody else thinks, if you will. Like me personally, I'm probably leaning a little bit more on Alabama, on the Bama side of this, control tempo and things like that. But the perception around Houston, and today they got another top recruit coming in. The Cougars are going to be relevant for many years now. Houston, though, is supposed to have a very good offense. I'm hesitant on this team. I know that they've played 4 games, 3 of them against teams way underneath their level, and they're winning by 40 points at the half of all these games. That's great. But their one step-up spot against Auburn, they didn't get the job done. Auburn's very good. The game was close. Houston did look good in the game. I just don't look at this Houston team and think, ooh, this is the best version of Houston yet. Many people think that. I cannot get there because the backcourt is the worst it's been in some years. It just is. Again, Jamal Sheed is in the NBA, as is Marcus Sasser. There's not an NBA guard on this roster. There's not. Let's see what it looks like tonight against Alabama, where they're at a disadvantage as it pertains to the guards. I like the over 149.5. I think both teams can do their part. I really do. The concern, as always, is with Alabama is what if threes aren't falling? Sometimes that happens. I think one of the beneficial things is legendary bounce-back spot Mark Sears, who is, by the way, eliminated from the Player of the Year race. Has to be. They beat a top 25 team in Illinois with him playing 21 minutes and scoring 0 points. Bounce-back spot, but got to be eliminated from the Player of the Year race. We're going to zoom out. College football conversation next right here on Game Time Decision.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Back right here, it's Game Time Decisions. Let's talk some college football. We're going to get the rankings in an hour. And, you know, our resident ranker on college football today is Ben Stevens. And we'll get into that Saturday. But it doesn't stop me from trying my hand at it, going through my process and ranking, you know, the teams within this country, within this college football landscape. Now, for the committee, they are going through what is a difficult season, and I love it. It's not been easy to follow the ebbs and flows. Now, I'm going to be hard on the committee because it's their job when I think they're getting it wrong, okay? But this is a committee that was always going to be up against it because during the history of the college football playoff, by the time they were ranking the 8th, 9th team, it was irrelevant. They weren't going to make the playoff. Who cared? If there was, you know, inconsistencies within what they were doing, their arguments fell flat. People weren't asking. Now 12 teams make the playoff. Who you rank as low as 15, 16 could potentially make the difference. When I go and I look to rank teams within college football, I try and go conference by conference, specifically starting with the SEC, the Big Ten, the top two conferences within college football, and combine those, and then you work in the rest of the teams within college football. So when I look at the SEC, I wholeheartedly believe that the Georgia Bulldogs should be the number one ranked SEC team. I've been talking, you know, higher than most when it comes to ranking Georgia. People are coming around, rightfully so. Georgia versus Texas really shouldn't be much of a debate. They are favored to meet in the SEC championship game, which would settle this. But Georgia, a lot of people like to use head-to-heads, won at Texas by 15 points. Texas has one less loss than Georgia. They also don't have wins at the Georgia level beyond just the head-to-head. The Dogs with the 14-point win against Tennessee, the 31-point win against Clemson. Two teams that now, when you look at the AP poll, which is our most recent set of rankings, Tennessee is 7th, Clemson is 12th. Georgia's resume is so good, I could sit here and probably win an argument that they deserve to be number one in college football. That's how good it is. The AP poll, teams ranked 3, 7, and 12. They've beaten all of them by 2+ touchdowns. Come on. All right? So the Dogs over Texas should not be that much of a debate. Then you get to Texas versus Tennessee. I think Texas does pass that eye test a little bit more, which is always a part of the equation, right? I know Texas does not hold monster wins, but they played Oklahoma, beat them by 31, right? They got the job done at Vanderbilt. They rolled Florida by 30 points in that game, won by double digits at Arkansas. You know, if you look at the Vanderbilt beat Bama, Arkansas beat Tennessee, Florida beat Ole Miss. They handled those teams, right? All of them by double digits. So, yes, Texas is probably in this rate leaning on the strength of the SEC. I think that's okay. It's the best conference in college football. The Vols coming in at third would be not much of any debate. Here's the important thing, though, when you go through this exercise. Who is the fourth best team in the SEC? I think it's Alabama, without a doubt. Ranking-wise, the AP poll has it that way. I think the committee will have it that way tonight as well. Ole Miss blew it by losing to Florida. A&M blew it by losing to Auburn. South Carolina's probably working at too much of a deficit. So as long as Alabama is sat there in tonight's rankings, which we'll get probably in about an hour, as the fourth SEC team, they 100% deserve to have a chance to get into the playoff. 4 SEC teams into the playoff, I believe, is under the preseason over-under that was listed by books of how many SEC teams would get in. 4.5. There are people screaming bloody murder because we're trying to potentially get a fourth, not fifth, not sixth, not seventh, a fourth SEC team in the mix. And again, if the season ended today, we wouldn't. The notion that Bama's eliminated, preposterous. Preposterous. They're the fourth best team in the best conference in football. They're in the mix. That's how that goes. So Bama's in the mix. And again, it's not that they don't have great wins. Beat Georgia. Played a Big Ten team in Wisconsin and drilled them. You know, the one that put Oregon on upset alert? Right? We pretend that didn't happen. I understand it's a down year for LSU. What Bama did to LSU, LSU's not looked like that in any other game. In any other game, they've not looked like that. Beating South Carolina by 2 all of a sudden, not so bad, is it? That's a top 16, 15 team in college football. But Alabama would not be in right now. That's okay. You rank the Big Ten. Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana. It's pretty easy. I think you could debate Ohio State over Oregon. I do. I am a progressive ranker. Head-to-head matters. It's not everything. Ohio State won at Penn State, smashed Indiana. Oregon does have the head-to-head win. I would put Oregon in front of them. It's close. It doesn't matter due to the format. They'll play in the Big Ten championship game. One of them will be ranked 1. The other will be ranked 5th. Maybe 6th. If it's Ohio State, I guess. That's what we're going to get. That's what we're going to get, right? Okay. Penn State jumps IU, even though they were put on upset alert by Minnesota. Even though Penn State gets put on upset alert by every good team they play, Big Ten doesn't have a ton of them, right? Penn State in front of Indiana. All good. All good, right? How do you round out that top 10? Notre Dame, Miami, and SMU. That's how you round it out. That's what your top 10 looks like. 2 teams from the ACC, Notre Dame, 4 from the Big Ten, and just 3 from the SEC. The Big 12, they've beaten themselves up. And none of the preseason contenders are in the mix. It hurts. It just does. They've beaten themselves up. The Boise stuff, nonsense. Gotta stop. Gotta stop with the Boise stuff. Yeah, I mean, if you want to have these, hey, are you watching the games argument? I got to start asking that around people in Boise. That San Jose State final score, very misleading. Very misleading. The game against Nevada? All right, it was a backdoor to put it within 7, but still, come on, it's Nevada. You're out. You're also laying a ton. Nevada, all the same. Wyoming had him on upset alert. Come on now.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here, it's Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh with you. We've got the NBA college slate starting to develop. We got an opportunity, though, to put our eye towards the upcoming week of NFL action. We do that with Brady Cannon. Brady, appreciate you making some time here on a Tuesday.
You bet. Thanksgiving week, we've got games all across the end of the week anyway. Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and Monday as well. Full of football. And, of course, college football, it's kind of like Labor Day all over again in November, right? We've got football for 4 or 5 days in a row. You got to love it.
So, Brady, let me start with this. You mentioned Thanksgiving. We have a 3-game slate here. Does a game being on a Thursday, the short week specifically, change how you will price it whatsoever?
Yeah, it does. I think it's just like a regular Thursday night, weekly game that we have across the NFL schedule throughout the season, whether it's Thanksgiving or not. I give a little bit of extra advantage to the home team there. I think the team that has to travel on a Thursday, again, whether it be a holiday or not, is at a little bit of a disadvantage there. I think it can be a point. Odds makers may consider it more than that, maybe less, but I think in general, I give about a point to the home team.
Yeah, I think that's understandable. It's definitely an advantage. I think kind of that trade-off, though, then you get that little mini buy that comes around. I think probably one of the, I don't know, trickier games. Maybe it's not tricky. Just bet the Lions, move on, collect. But I look at the way the Bears have been playing. That number looks a tick too high to me, but maybe I'm not factoring in the Detroit performances enough. What do you think of a number that I'm now seeing sitting at 10.5 in some spots?
Well, 10.5 is about exactly what my number came to when I crunched all the stats. Personally, I made it 11. And then again, when I went through all the stats, I came to 10.3. So the number apparently is fairly accurate, but I do believe, Kevin, to your point, that we're probably getting to a point here. And I thought we were experiencing it last week with Detroit laying a touchdown on the road. I thought they might stub their toe just for a minute. I mean, when was the last time we saw this team slip at all? All they do is cover spreads. But I think it was true last week. I think it might be true this week. I mean, if they win and cover again here, who knows how high it's going to get. But I think you are already paying a premium on the Detroit Lions. I mean, if this is 10.5, maybe the real line, if the odds makers didn't know the situation, have the liability week in and week out, and this team being a covering machine, maybe they would really set this at 8 or 8.5. But, and you have to try and time the market. When is the right spot where are they finally getting a little too much love? Are we paying too much of a tax on this team? I think we already are paying a little bit of a premium. But again, when I crunch my numbers, I come out to 10.5 as well. So I won't be betting against them this week.
Yeah, I think for me, I look at that game and I know my brain goes, you gotta go and get Chicago. I'll look for another angle. What I will say on the Bears is with 30 seconds left against Minnesota, they were down by 11 in that game. That helps the perception a little bit as well. I know for a while you've been viewing Detroit as the best team in the NFL. How close is your second and third teams, and who are those teams right now that would be within range of Detroit?
It's a good question, and I don't know if I have my number on the Buffalo Bills just yet. But the Bills, the Ravens, the Chiefs. We know what a tough out the Chiefs are. I mean, they're the two-time defending Super Bowl champion, right? But the numbers don't match up this year. And we saw that, in living color last week, not being able to put away the Carolina Panthers, a 3-point game in that one. I think the number's too big this week, Kevin. 12-13 over the Raiders. They beat the Raiders by 7 here in Las Vegas earlier this year. There's no home field advantage in Las Vegas. If anything, it might be an advantage for Kansas City. So now to be laying 12 or 13 at home, maybe Vegas has regressed since then. I think the number ought to be 9.5, maybe double digits. I think that one's too high. But, I have a ticket on the Detroit Lions to go to the Super Bowl and meet up with Buffalo. I just have them as the representatives. And BetMGM is already offering me to cash out. I got it at 18-1, and I think the current price is plus 750. But Buffalo for sure. They've got the win over Kansas City, but you can never count out the champs. I thought the Ravens looked great on Monday night. I like the Chargers in that game. And boy, when Derrick Henry gets going, it's really tough to stop that two-headed monster of Lamar and Henry. So I think those are probably your and the Eagles. All of a sudden, the Eagles are right there too, my friend. I think they're getting too many points in Baltimore this weekend.
I respectfully, all of a sudden, or also kind of been there for a little bit, Brady. It's the one team I've been laser focused on for a number of reasons, and I just know that
Eventually, it was going to catch up, and it was going to pop to people, and they've had some pop performances. I remember talking to you before a game against Cincinnati. That was going to be the swing game, and to me it was the confirmation. The Bengals have played the Chiefs and Ravens a combined 3 times and lost those games, yes, by a combined 7 points. Philly beat them by 20 in their building. I just think the Eagles have shown that level. Like, if again, Detroit is the best team in football. Detroit is the favorites. That's all good. I don't agree that Detroit is a tier above Philadelphia, for example, right? I just think that is something that, we're seeing from the Eagles right now, that they are within that range. I think the spot against Baltimore is really interesting on Sunday with the Ravens at home laying 3.
Yeah, with the Ravens coming off of a very emotional victory too, right? The Harbaugh Bowl. I mean, I think that's a tough, game to come off of for both the Chargers and the Ravens. So, I think situationally it favors Philadelphia, and my numbers say it should as well. I made the game a pick'em, I believe, is what I landed on, and I was a little surprised for it to open up at 3. I haven't crunched the stats, or all the stats anyway, on that game just yet. We haven't seen it move in the market. Some of the games that, I thought the line was off, we have seen movement. I made the Chargers a 3-point favorite. Speaking of the Chargers, I made the Chargers a 3-point favorite at Atlanta. It opened 1.5, but we've seen that one move to 2.
Yeah, there's a few other interesting spots. I want to get your quick thoughts on Brady. We'll do it on the other side of this quick break on SportsGrid.
Guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back to right here. We're with Brady Cannon talking through some numbers, and Brady and I were just talking a lot about Kansas City and Carolina this past weekend, and I'll use that to shift Brady to the game with the Chiefs and the Raiders on Friday night, and you talk about it, and to me, like, this is where someone like yourself, the odds makers in the room, I am not saying that, if someone believes this should be double digits, they've done a bad job. It's that they've created an opportunity that I don't want to let pass by, which is to take double digits against Kansas City, who is completely allergic to winning by a big margin. I mean, how many times have they done it this year? Once?
I think against the Saints on a Monday nighter.
Yeah, not very many times, and you know I think it's probably been going on for a few seasons now. Ever since you know Patrick Mahomes came along and Andy Reid and this team started winning Super Bowls. I heard one of my odds maker friends say, you know, we're never begging for Chiefs money. And they're probably also not, you know, begging for people that are anti-Raiders. So I think you have, you know, the general public here that's running to the window going opposite directions here. They're never afraid to bet the Chiefs no matter what the number is, and they're never afraid to go against the Raiders. And obviously they're matched up here on Friday. Like I said, I made the number 9. When I crunch all the numbers, I come out to Kansas City by 7. That's exactly what they won by here in Las Vegas. I don't think there's a home field advantage here at Allegiant Stadium. Certainly there is at Arrowhead. So, okay, let's maybe bump that number up to 9. But I thought 12 or 13 was quite odd here. You know, we talk about paying a premium, paying a tax on the Detroit Lions, and we probably are paying a little extra on that team right now. We've been paying a premium on the Chiefs for probably 3 or 4 seasons, and I think there's no greater example than this number right here on Friday.
Yeah, and a primetime game as well. Speaking of primetime, man, I didn't know what was going to have to happen to see a regular season game with the Niners catching a full touchdown. That's what we're seeing against Buffalo, and it looks like Purdy's going to play. Are you surprised to see that number up to 7?
That's pretty much what I made it. Let's see, Bills and 49ers here. Where did I land on that one? I actually made it 9, Kevin, because I figured Purdy would not be playing. Okay, my number basically came to like say 3 or 3.5, and it's not just Purdy, but it's Trent Williams, it's Nick Bosa. You know, there's possibly some other. I mean, Hufanga is still out for this team. So you know, when you add all of that up, I think that amounted to about 6 points or so. And you know, now 9 doesn't seem like quite the right number. There's also the Buffalo Bills coming off of a bye. And, you know, that can be a good thing, giving them some rest, getting healthier and whatnot. But they also went into that bye week on a roll, and it kind of stopped some momentum that they had. They come up. Maybe it's good that they had a bye after a huge win over Kansas City, because it could have been an absolute letdown spot if they played the very next week. Now they kind of get a minute to, you know, soak that in and prepare for another big dog in the 49ers, the other Super Bowl representative, and they catch them certainly in a down moment. But I'd be a little bit surprised if Purdy played. I'd be a little bit surprised if Trent Williams played. That's a huge combination, missing those 2 guys right there. I think we know Bosa won't be around. And, yeah, I think 7's probably a pretty good number, and I wouldn't be afraid to lay it, certainly consider it in some teasers and what have you.
Yeah, I think the Purdy availability is going to matter a ton. Of course, right? I mean, it's a team's quarterback, so it's going to make the difference there. Let me ask you about one last one before we let you get out of here, Brady. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Boy, do the Bengals need it. They're off the bye. They're at home. A field goal favorite. Does that feel right to you?
No, I made Pittsburgh a 1-point favorite here, and we have seen a little money come towards the Steelers. It's now 2.5 in a lot of spots, and that's a fairly significant move. You know that, Kevin. Anytime we're coming off of a 3, either going to 3.5 or going to 2.5, that's a pretty serious move. So some people out there apparently are agreeing with me that 3 was way too high on Cincinnati. Again, I made the Steelers a 1-point road favorite. We've seen them fail in that role before. It's a little bit scary territory to lay points on the road with Pittsburgh. But I thought 3, I mean, I don't think the Bengals are very good. Has anybody seen that defense lately? I thought 3 was way too heavy in favor of Cincinnati.
It'll be a really fun one to watch play out. Cincinnati in must-win mode if they want to try and sneak into that AFC postseason picture. Pittsburgh trying to hold off Baltimore in the North race. A lot at stake. Brady, we appreciate it. As always, we've got the Consig stopping by next here on Game Time Decisions.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome in. It is game time decisions. I want to quickly fly through the card for people one more time, and then we'll be joined by Dave Sharapan. We're going to go head down because that's the only way I can get through it. Bama Houston over 149.5. We've got Dayton catching 9 and a hook. We've got a first half under in North Carolina Auburn of 79.5. And then our prop in the college basketball board, it's Hunter Dickinson over 10.5 rebounds in that game. NBA, the prop, Zach LaVine over 8.5 rebounds plus assists. And then 3 totals over in Heat Bucks. Though played before the Giannis news, I would be careful with that update. Jazz Spurs under 225. Suns Lakers under 235. Dave Sharapan, happy Halloween? I mean, what's going on here?
Kevin, first of all, it's great to see you. Okay.
Yeah.
The college football playoff stuff is coming out.
Yep.
And I come on here. When you're not here, it's different. When you're here, it's great because you are the most unbiased man in sports media. And
correct.
I didn't know what to wear. I said, you know what? Referees are supposed to be impartial. Referees are supposed to be unbiased.
It's a good point.
Referees are, keep things under control. Sometimes bettors think that referees determine outcomes. A lot of interference calls. Still don't know what interference is. I thought I did. I don't know what holding is anymore in NFL. Different things happen. But yes, Kevin, it's not Halloween. It's Thanksgiving week.
That's
Monster week. I lobbied for the whole hour. BK did a great job talking about Thanksgiving Day games. I didn't want to take his time. JY killed it with you in the first hour. I could have done 2 hours with you today. I was down at the MGM Grand at the Players Era basketball tournament. I got the bug. I watched San Diego State house Creighton. I had to come home because I'm doing the show. Otherwise, I would have stayed for Houston, Alabama. K-Duh. I was standing next to the Houston kids. They're ready. They are. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was thinking Alabama before, but when I was next to them and watching, like, this is a business trip.
Did they look ready to score or ready to defend? Tell me.
Defend.
Give it to me honest. Nah, yeah, too bad. Yeah, then they're in for a rude awakening. We like the over.
I
we
know
like the
you
over.
do.
No, it's all right.
The game's supposed to have juice, but
No.
I'm telling you, it's going to be hard to get a rebound tonight for Alabama. They better make the first ones. They better make the first ones.
That is always the key.
Mhm.
Let me ask you then. What's the conversation around the number one team in the country catching 3.5? Duke, Kansas.
It's crazy because that's right down the street, and there wasn't a person in the building that even acknowledged that the game was going on. And 100%, there's a bunch of people on the strip that are going to this game. It's going to be a packed house. The consensus is like, why everybody always loves Duke? Like, no matter what, they're favored. They lay it. There's not a number, I think, that can stop it. I don't know. This feels like a Kansas play to me, K-Dub. No?
I just, listen, I know you always say be careful of these things, so I will add the caveats. The FanDuel stats thing says the percentage of bets, 80% Kansas. The 3.5 is gone. It's now 4.5.
Yeah.
The metrics tell you
Bye-bye.
Duke's the better ball club. They tell you Duke's the better ball club. What Duke did in Arizona was, come on now. They held that team under 60 in their building. That's not right. That's not right.
They really had the game against Kentucky in control until the end, and then it was just a melt. So, like, Duke's not going anywhere. For the people that don't like Duke, they're going to be around, and they do have a tremendous roster.
Yep.
I don't know yet what Kansas is. Kansas are we in for the Big 12 all over again? Like, is the Big 12 the deepest conference in the baskets?
It's the perception, but I think it's like, here's the thing, right? So Auburn now has a win over Houston and Iowa State. Like, if tonight you get a Bama win, you get a Duke win.
Oh boy.
Well, I don't know what we're gonna still put the whole thing in though, right? I mean, that's kind of the way sometimes this stuff breaks.
I mean, the SEC's had a stronghold on football for like 15 years. Do we need them to have the best basketball conference too, K-Dub?
Oh,
come on.
Oh, apparently the best college football conference. Everybody now, now all of a sudden the SEC is not good. I don't know what's going on anymore. I can barely keep up with some of the things. I'm keeping the ears to the ground. I mean, it's very interesting, the conversations out there. I mean, Penn State's ranked 4th.
Give it to me. Give it to me. Go ahead.
Come on.
I ain't seen you for a couple weeks. Go ahead. I'm ready. Let me get the listening glasses. Hold on. You want to be unbiased? Give it to me. Go ahead. I'm ready for you.
Here's what I would say. I think I just think that if we are, I'll give it to you like this, Dave.
Mm-hmm. Please.
You and I preseason got together and talked about the over-under for teams to make the playoff from the Big Four conferences, right?
We did. Yes, we did.
And I believe it was 1.5 for the Big 12.
Yes, it was.
1.5 for the ACC.
Correct.
4.5 for the Big 10. 4.5 SEC. Or was it 5.5 SEC?
3.5 for the Big 10.
Okay.
4.5 for the SEC.
Okay. Now, explain to me how we're currently about to get 3 SEC teams in, which is well under the number.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
And yet people are talking about SEC bias. That doesn't sound like SEC bias.
I'll tell you why. Because Alabama with 3 losses won't go away. They won't go away. Can we just put them in the Duke's Mayo Bowl right now?
Can I ask you something, Dave?
Can you see a scenario where they can get in? Please tell me.
Absolutely. But not only can I see it, Dave, not only can I see it.
Are you betting it?
Dave, most unbiased man history of sports media does it again. I'm holding 4-1 on them to miss the playoff, and I'm sitting here telling you, honest as days, that they have a chance to get in and deserve one. I mean, I don't know how I keep getting away with it being this unbiased. It hurts a little bit. I might start to go Yanks chant during the break just to feel a little bit of the juice.
Let's go,
Yankees. Honestly.
Boys of the Bronx, could be a big year. You know what? This Soto kid's coming back. Listen, I'm hearing a lot of Boston chatter, Nationals chatter. Come on. This C.J. Abrams probably laid it on Soto to go back to the Yanks. Come on. Easy now.
Now, Dave. Here's my thing, right? Preseason,
Bama 3 losses. They don't belong in. Da, 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 da. Dave, we're in season. A lot of things have happened. Michigan's not good. I understand that. I understand. Hold on a minute now. Texas.
Oklahoma's 5-5.
Texas beat them by 3.
Smoked them.
Texas
Oklahoma smoked them last week.
That was an awesome game by OU. Hold on, that was an awesome. Wait, that was an awesome game out of OU. But Dave, but again, you want Bama or you want Boise, who's on upset alert by Wyoming? Oof. Oof. Wyoming. Oof. That's ugly, Dave.
Boise may lose to UNLV.
We'd like to see it.
And they let
We'd
the
like
Rebels
to see
in.
it. But that's my point. Like, again, I'm not telling you that Bama needs to be in over, like Indiana, right? Like, there's a lot of insecurity there with the Indiana folk.
A lot.
And I get it. But Indiana got enough help. That schedule, though, is pathetic. Like, the absolute hilarity of that team coming off the Ohio State winner, like, whoa, what's next? Purdue. Like, all right, come on.
Let's go whack Purdue.
I think they need to beat Purdue. I think they need the cover against Purdue. Otherwise, I'm dropping them out of the playoff.
100.
I agree.
Win by 100.
No, I agree. It's a great breakdown by Dave. It's a great breakdown. Let's get more of these. We're live. We're making it happen. It's an electric Tuesday on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions were here on a Tuesday, and why not? You know what, Dave?
Yep.
Because there's more and more reports that John Heyman's telling people the Red Sox are stepping up the offer. I mean, you're with Peralt on a daily basis, so I imagine he's got a sense of whether it's real or not.
Yeah.
I have my own take on Soto, but what is yours on certainly something that would shift many, many markets?
I think he's staying in New York. I think it's either the Mets or the Yankees, and I think that the guys using these other teams Why aren't the Yankees stepping up the offer? Why aren't the Mets stepping up the offer? Because they're waiting until the end for one of them to say, Juan, come home, come back. It would be a great story if he goes to the Nationals. I know someone very near and dear to our hearts who will literally cry tears of joy. He's not going to the Nationals. Red Sox, would bring back the rivalry. It would be great. He ain't going to the Red Sox. Is he coming out west? Listen, this is Shohei's world out west. He's not going to play second fiddle to anybody out west, whether it's San Diego. He's definitely not going to the Dodgers. How about the Toronto nonsense? I love it. Listen, Canada, go up to Toronto. You'll own the whole country for a year or two until they lose to the Yankees and continue to. He's going to either the Mets or the Yankees. End of story. I'll be surprised. If he goes anywhere else, you'll slide the numbers down. But if he goes to the Red Sox, like with the pitching they got, how are they going to get better? I mean, they got to get better with the pitching. Is he going to the Nationals? What does that do? I don't know. The Braves, the Phillies, the Mets, are they all going to come back? Good luck. If he wants to win, he's staying in New York, Kevin. It's simple.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing for Soto is he already has a World Series under the belt, right? He's been to another. So while that'll be a part of it, I think he probably believes wherever he goes, that's a winner. What I'll just say is, in classic baseball fashion, I am sure that this news will break when it'll be least relevant. Maybe in the heart of NFL wildcard weekend or something like that. Maybe middle of the Super Bowl, just to make sure that absolutely nobody cares.
Post Super Bowl.
Post
February,
Super
when everybody's on vacation. Yeah.
It's just, it's one of those things. It shouldn't drag out like this, but that's baseball, right?
Yeah.
That's baseball. And we will see what happens when
Can
it
he go
happens.
to the Phillies? I mean, could he go to the state of Pennsylvania? You were just down at the state of Pennsylvania, and Philadelphia would be kind of nice. I mean, the Phillies would be a good story. I'd love for him to go to Pittsburgh. He could name the city. Pittsburghville would be Sotoburg. You could call it whatever you want. They would go nuts and keep him forever. It's not going to happen. What is happening in Philly, though, is these birds. And, I mean, listen, the Sixers are done. That's it. We don't have to talk about Philadelphia and basketball unless it's college.
Yeah.
But did you see what Saquon did? Did you see what they're doing? I mean, Kevin told people back in August, in September, to watch out for this team. Remember? Cowboys are coming. Oh, baby. The Redskins, the Commanders, pardon me, they're going to be okay. The Giants, stop, please. What a mess.
Let me ask you something about Saquon, Dave. Is he going to be a liability for the books in the MVP market? Because a lot of the bets on him, I assume, are at really big numbers.
Yeah, it already is. It's already a big number, and it's a red number in a lot of places because you can't go from 60-1 to 10-1 or 5-1 or whatever, single digits. That was the move. There was no progressive, like the Skeens prop. Talked about it before it was cool and before anyone else saw it. It was 200-1. It was 150-1, 100-1. I mean, you could work it your way down. There's no book or, if you actually taking bets and you go from 60-1 to 6-1, you got some red number liability. Can he win it, Kevin? Can he win it?
I actually think he can. I think, to me, when you look at the way the MVP is being handled, right? You need timing on your side. You need the record. And he's got both right now, right? Only one team has a better record. That's Detroit. The conversation, it's happening at the right moment. Baltimore, though, is a big game, right?
It's a big game for both Lamar and him, for both the teams, both the cities, both the divisions. There's a lot at stake in that game on Sunday. Can't wait to watch it. I think Saquon needs a record like 2,000 yards to win it. I think he needs that thing for all of the people that vote for him to hang their hat on, so to say.
Dave, he's sitting plus 150 to rush for 2K on one book. Now, it might not be a great number, right? But to give you an idea, he's 7-1 to win an MVP. He's plus 150 to put the 2,000 on the board, right?
Which he can do and not win the MVP in a weird sort of way.
Agree.
So it's not a bad bet, actually.
Here's what
He's
I'm
gonna
really
get the
interested
number.
in is if he wins MVP, does he also win Offensive Player of the Year? I think that's the trickier thing to figure out for me.
Do you see his odds to win Player of the Year? I mean, it's a done deal, right? I mean, the books have played instant defense on that and moved up to a minus money favorite. So
rightfully so.
I think that right, and that's the consolation prize. As weird as that is to say, that's what he's going to win if he doesn't win MVP.
Right.
I don't know. It's been fun.
The last person to win both, I believe, was Mahomes, right? You know, they kind of started to separate them, but they separated it because the MVP was just always going to the quarterback. Right. I think the year AP won MVP, Peyton Manning won Offensive Player of the Year. I'm not 100% on that.
Get the research department on that.
Well, and we will,
find
but
that out.
you know, could you imagine like if they hand Josh Allen Offensive Player of the Year? Oh, that'd be too funny. Ooh, that would be funny. I hate to admit it, but it would be. I mean,
talk about this Bills game on the other side.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff out there. We'll button it all up. We got the consig with us on a Tuesday night.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Right here on SportsGrid, game time decisions. We've already made some. We'll flip through the card before we get out of here. But we do have Dave Sharapan with us, and we're putting our eye on some of the big stuff that's going to be coming up throughout the weekend here. Dave, I am curious because you have some really marquee matchups, and you know me, I always find this stuff super interesting. What will be the biggest handled NFL game this whole week? One of the Thanksgiving games, the Black Friday game? Sunday night?
Usually we go, I mean, for 2 decades, the story on Thanksgiving was bet against Detroit, bet on Dallas, and then the third game, bet under if it's in a cold weather place because it's usually freezing. So this year, you got bet on Detroit, bet against Dallas, and bet under in Green Bay. That's the way that one's going to go. Handle-wise, the Dallas game is usually the one in the middle, and that's between mealtime. So that's usually the biggest handle game. But, I mean, the Miami-Green Bay game is 3. So that'll be the most handle game. Friday standalone is interesting. The NFL has taken over a little bit. I mean, they moved the Egg Bowl off of Thursdays because of the NFL, and now that they put it on Friday, they moved the NFL game on Friday. And it's the Chiefs, but it's a big number. So I heard BK talking about it. I don't know how much handle this one's going to do. I mean, it's down to 12, which is surprising. I thought this would stick up there higher. But Sunday, I mean, when you're looking at the card, it's definitely not like Seattle and the Jets. Like, that one's not going to be the biggest handle game. Early, I mean, surprisingly, not. Maybe it's Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. That's actually a 2.5-point spread. And a Steeler game in the early window is usually good handle. But Philadelphia and Baltimore is basically a Super Bowl preview. I mean, the battle of the birds, Ravens, Eagles. I can't believe it got to 3 this early in the week. I thought the game, I mean, legit, with Baltimore coming off a trip to the West Coast and a really good game, I thought the game would be closer to pick. Let them bet Baltimore up. They already put it at 2.5 and took the bets up to 3. That one's going to be gigantic. And then it's all going to roll into the Buffalo-San Francisco game. And the news came out. I heard it when I was driving home from the basketball arena. I guess Purdy's going to play. I don't know. What does that mean? That means they're going to be competitive. That means they're going to score. Buffalo's a physical, nasty team. And they actually have a lot in place without any questions. Like, I have Buffalo right there. I mean, people have maybe Baltimore 1, maybe Kansas City 2 or 3, and then Buffalo right there. But they keep putting Buffalo lower in that pecking order. Buffalo's right there with them, I think.
Yeah, I think it all depends who you ask. I think what I would say, and I think maybe a little bit of evidence of the last few games we've seen on the Ravens, I actually think the Ravens are right now, at least from what I'm seeing, booked as the second best team in the NFL. Detroit's booked as the best.
We'll
see how it plays out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Consig, we appreciate it. You want to let people know what they got coming up on the in-game live tonight?
Oh, me and Wetzel, a cast of characters. Colby D's on, Cam's on, and a couple guests. We got college basketball top to bottom. We got a college football debate. And, of course, the NBA, NHL, and Thanksgiving. Kevin, favorite side dish Thanksgiving for the people? You got to have one. What is it?
Mashed potatoes. Go with the classic. Everybody says the mac and cheese, but the mashed potatoes.
No, mashed potatoes is minus 800. You never miss. Penn State's covering against Maryland. Goodbye.
Oh, wow. What a moment that'll be. Covering against Maryland. The best win on the Indiana resume, some would say. All right, let's get out of here with a couple of picks. Suns-Lakers under 235. Highest total with the third game of these teams this season. Little inflated with the Durant and Beal returns. Under in Jazz Spurs as well, 225. That number not moving enough with Wemby in the mix there for that game tonight against the Jazz with the Spurs playing. College Hoops card. We go late night under 79.5. First half, UNC Auburn will take 9.5 points with the Dayton Flyers going up in that game against Iowa State. Over 149.5. Bama, Houston, juice. Love it. Then my favorite bet tonight, it's Hunter Dickinson over 10.5 rebounds. A 15 spot could be in range for the big man on Kansas. Can't wait to watch it play out. I will see you Thanksgiving morning for Pro Football Today. Best of luck on the slate.